Janine Lyric. I'm from Guernsey County, Ohio. This is my daughter, Caitlin. She was age 11 when she witnessed a cop assault me, and the CPS worker lied the next morning on her complaint and perjured to the judge, stating that I got violent and I had to be arrested and subdued, which is all RICO conspiracy because CPS Nicole Stillion and also Guernsey County Sheriff's Deputy Robert Oakley Patterson, they tried to gaslight me. They obstructed justice and interference of custody. They would not let me speak and present my homeschool records that were approved by a superintendent, notice of intent, homeschooling, unschooling, and online schooling, which were in my hand in the video, but they refused to let me speak. The phone call was about a utility bill. I sent the wrong utility bill in, but I still had the confirmations in my hand, but never got on record because attorneys kept it from going on, and CPS perjured to the judge the next morning after I got arrested and thrown in jail for the first time ever in my life. I'm not violent. I'm a domestic violence victim and advocate. But so Robert Oakley put me in jail, come up with all these defamation stories. They put it online. Media defamation made me a guilty person to the judge. The judge was biased. Listened to the perjury of CPS, and I never got discovery of the pictures and stuff, but the jail did not let me out. They didn't even tell me I had juvenile court, and so it's unlawful to take a child without the parent being present. And if I were present, I would have showed my lawful homeschooling records and the cop cam assault and the perjured. I could have defended myself against the perjured complaint that CPS Nicole Caldwell gave. Therefore, the whole case is void ab initio. Fraud from the beginning. Nothing else sticks past that, but they kept going with no accountability and cover-up. All agents involved, because everyone I talked to, attorneys, CPS agents, I filed it on the juvenile record later, in the common police court, attorney general, commissioners, prosecutors, all three of the original juvenile attorneys in my case, they're at the prosecuting office now. Mark Perlacki at the beginning, he had all this information, but he kept it going. It's gross deprivation of rights for myself and Caitlin. Subpoenaed her a couple of times. She never got produced. And I only got to see her about 19 one-hour visits until they took permanent custody away from her. Fought like hell, but they ignored everything, including all the abuse reports. And when I included abuse reports to county and state, I got ignored. Caitlin or I got retaliated against. I picked up charges. They put me in a mental ward because Dr. Reasoner said I was incompetent because I did not trust the government and I suspected RICO. So I lost custody and I came out of the nut ward. They kept me in there long enough. I was unspecified diagnosis. And then at the end when I said something about CPS, Nancy Schaefer's story stating that CPS was trafficking kids, she got killed for it. They called me delusional disorder. As soon as I did that, I said that, which was in November. So I got documentation July, August, September, October, November that it was unspecified. They didn't know what to do with me. I only took Abilify by pill, but there was one time when they wanted to be able to force me any kind of meds they wanted. There was like 30 of them, and Haldol was one of them. People die suddenly from it. 270,000 out of 1 million, I think, in 2012. My son was on it from the state. State likes to put people on it in prisons. But he recently died in my arms in 2024 at the age of 34. Caitlin's big brother, Joshua, she was denied to have a relationship with him for the past 7 months. And also Grandma Betty, I said 7 months, 7 years, and Grandma Betty, CPS did approve Grandma Betty to get custody in 2021, but they turned around and decided that they would adopt her out, or try to adopt her out through Wendy's Hamburgers. The CPS worker, Amanda Kennedy, on Cop Cam is laughing to her co-worker, ha ha ha, Janine doesn't know it yet, but she's never getting her kids back. She knew a year in advance if she said that I threatened her, it'd be a felony, and I would be spending for years trying to get Caitlin back. So they put me in a nut ward. I was put down there for 5 months, long enough to lose my appeal, come out. I put an affidavit on the record. It's still unrebutted to date. And then I also put an enjoinder, which ties all 88 counties in the state of Ohio, Clerks Association, Bar Association, JFS, CPS, the juvenile courts, and pretty much all the agencies that are involved in what is going on, destroying Ohio's families and children, depriving us of our rights. Last time I checked, there's about 16,000 kids in Ohio foster care. 80% are just like mine. The parents are innocent, but the kids are worth a lot of money. This is where you became familiar with Caitlin back in November of 2024. She got beat up at Dimensional Phases Group Home in Dayton, Ohio. 17 years old, in a portal to strangers. There's my DOJ complaint, but we're still waiting on justice. But every time that I've complained about abuse or neglect of Caitlin, I've been retaliated, just like now. When her story picked up in 2024, Judy picked it up, and she had been beaten up, and she was from head to toe with bruises. You saw the pictures. Another foster girl had beat her up in a residential group home, the girl named Nevaeh, and we've got pictures of Nevaeh with Caitlin. And Deja, the worker, was egging Nevaeh on to beat her up. Another worker complained about Deja's attitude, and she also complained that the girls, it's on audio, that girls run away from this foster home all the time and get raped or trafficked. When this all happened, like I said, Dayton police, Dimensional Phases Group Home, we had, they took her to the hospital. They only checked her out as mental. We got pictures of her at the hospital with all those bruises from head to toe. Caitlin said she had a big knot on her head. They didn't give her CAT scan. And she went back to the foster home, and she said she sent a text to Casey Cole, her supervisor, saying that she was slurring her words and she couldn't think straight, and her pupils were turning colors, which is sign of concussions. I called every day. She texted. I think it's about 8 days later before Judy Byington's readers of the Restored Republic was able to help get Caitlin back into the hospital on the 15th and confirmed concussion. There is a video of that. But in between, Deja, the worker, took her in to get blood work at the hospital, but didn't get her concussion checked out. So what Caitlin and I thought we would do was maybe create an affidavit so that we could get it to Judge Bennett, and maybe he'd read it. So Caitlin on the phone from the hospital, we took the affidavit to juvenile clerk Debbie Bennington and gave it to her. We took it to probation. We took it to CPS and also the Guernsey County Sheriff's Department, the affidavit. So she was on the phone from the hospital talking to every one of these agents, and I was handing them her affidavit. We also filed Judy Byington's report. Judy is a professional counselor and author, expert on trafficking and also children. So after we did that, CPS drove 3.5 hours across state in the middle of the night and picked her up at the hospital at 1 o'clock instead of keeping her overnight for observation because she had a allergic reaction to the Benadryl because they didn't have her records there at the hospital and there was nobody there for her that knew she had reactions to Benadryl. So it kind of knocked her out. So they took her, Guernsey County CPS took her to Royal Rose's group home, but before that they took her phone away. So we didn't know for weeks where she was at, what was going on. Ohio Attorney General put her on the missing website with her 16-year-old picture a year before, right before she was made herself an organ donor, because Eric Weimar of Straker Foundation, the blind author, he inspired her to donate her eyes, and she was awarded by him and the Straker Foundation $2,000 for her artwork. She ended up spending that money on herself and a foster sister and for food and needs. I've got a documentation where she weighed the same amount at the age of 16 as what she did at 8 or 11 when she went in. And it's stated in the charts, malnourished. I can't even talk, I'm too tired. But anyway, with that being said, in August of 25, she had found her way to Grandma Betty's house, and where I lived, I took care of my mother, 24/7 caregiver. I thank God that she got that time with my mom. She was supposed to get her in 2021, but CPS decided to try to adopt her out through Wendy's Hamburger, or was it to silence the witness that they had silenced since day one? They silenced me since 2019, and we both were retaliated. August of 2025, Detective Bill Patterson, I don't know if he's related to Robert Oakley Patterson, that probated his name from Patterson in our county. But Robert Oakley was the one that assaulted me originally on the void amnesia case that they're really working hard to cover up. But Detective Patterson back in 2020 cost me custody because he never collected an exculpatory exonerating video of me telling him, well, of me, I'm too tired. It proved that I didn't threaten the caseworker. And Amanda Kennedy, I've got her on video laughing. Ha ha ha, Janine doesn't know yet. She's never getting her kids back. She knew a year in advance if she pulled. Janine threatened me, it would be aggravated menacing charges, which are felony, and I would be spending 3 years. So that cost me custody. I was put in a mental ward by Dr. Dale Reasoner, and on the entry it says, Janine doesn't trust the government, and she suspects Rico. Yeah, she's incompetent, and that's what put me in the mental ward. Incompetent to stand trial on false charges that I later got acquitted. But I was in there long enough for them to make me lose permanent custody. I come out, I put my claim on the record, which is still unrebutted affidavit. They tried to pull another incompetency on me, and I beat that. And then I took, in this case, I put an enjoinder on the record, enjoining all 88 counties, agencies, the Sheriff's Association, the Clerks Association, Job and Family Services, CPS, the Bar Association, every agency that's involved in this. I know I'm not the only one. There's about 16,000 kids in the state of Ohio. And I know I've seen somewhere where it said stats are about 80% are innocent. Okay? So, back on 8/25, when Robert Patterson, no, too many Pattersons, Detective Bill Patterson arrested me for interference of custody and obstruction of justice for protecting Caitlin and hiding her out from years of documented abuse in Dayton, on a void case of the same charges. Anyway, it's really, really, really crazy. If I didn't have the evidence, I would question my own insanity. So yeah, I got arrested for protecting my daughter, and they took her back into custody, and they handed me the warrant the next day when I was in jail, and that warrant had duplicate signature of the clerk. But anyway, also Detective Patterson, that cost me custody years ago by derelict of duty of not serving the people and collecting that video that made me innocent. I had to wait 2.5 years before I played it in a jury trial after I lost custody. We suffered a lot. Again, please keep in mind, I'm squirreling, it's trauma, I'm exhausted, tired, but I need to get this done. Bloops, bleeps, and blunders. When I was in jail just recently, Detective Patterson said that he was going to charge me a felony on having my daughter, protecting my daughter, a felony for every day that I had her. Now, mind you, this is a void amnesio case from day one, fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine. But I was talking to him, how come I've reported to you guys, Caitlin's been abused and neglected, how come you've never checked into it? Oh, we don't check into the foster kids that are in state care. CPS and Sheriff's Department are online joined entities, and the state of Ohio protects them because that's funds from federal and Title IV money. But I reported abuse and neglect of Caitlin to the Attorney General, and I got a letter back from the Attorney General that says, we don't work for the constituents, we work for the government, get yourself a lawyer or call the police. Guernsey County Commissioners did nothing. I reported, and it's been nothing but disappointment, defamation, and fraudulent stuff from CPS, and even somebody sending money through Caitlin's phone when she didn't even have it, when CPS took it away from her at the end of 2024. Now, we've got document evidence, and I wrote it in my discovery with the current case of Cambridge Municipal Court obstruction of justice and interference of custody, which should have been dropped. But what they want to do is they want to put me in jail, and they also want to say that Caitlin and I are both lying about her being in Dayton, and about the GoFundMe, the Give, Send, Go, which, it's nuts. Absolutely freaking nuts. Because we got a void amnesio case that this child and I have both been deprived ever to get evidence on the record that it is a void amnesio case, and perjury from CPS. Day one. Now, so Caitlin went through all that down there in Dayton, and I got arrested, and I kept filing, and I was shocked on 11/3 to see there was a man in Judge Stephanie Williams' place. He was an attorney, law and family law, real estate out of Zanesville, Derek Moorhead with the Straker Foundation, and he lived in Shelby, but he's not an elected judge. But so he was an acting attorney. Showed up on 11/3/2025 and denied my continuance, and Sealover lied and said I didn't ask for it, but it was actually filed in the record. And so Derek Moorhead denied my jury trial and forced court-appointed attorney Jack Blakesley upon me. I said I wanted a constitutional lawyer, and Jack has yet to ever get me the discovery he said he was going to. He said, you wouldn't believe the stuff coming off the internet. It's all crazy. Well, first of all, if I wrote it, if I speak it, it's the truth. I'm not responsible for what other people say. But I do have a duty to report what you guys have done to me and my daughter, because if you're doing it to me and my daughter, you're doing it to others. So, on 11/3, the day that Derek Moorhead shows up acting as judge, there are 4 months, October, November, December, and January, records for juvenile, and they're all certified by Debbie Bennington, all on the same day that Derek Moorhead shows up from Zanesville to pretend to be a judge, deprive me of my rights. In one of these, they were asking, actually 2 of them, if Caitlin had Indian blood in her. But what was really interesting, again, 11/3, they're all 11/3. There's nothing in these paperwork that says anything about her being in Dayton. Why? We got call records of her being in Dayton. We got pictures of her being in Dayton. I got police report. What's going on? What are they covering up? So, on close to around the first part of, no, I want to back up, because if you look on those 11/3 papers that showed up when October 29th, she showed up in Dayton, but there's nothing in here about Dayton Dimensional Faces group home or Royal Roses group home that she was in. That is a brand new case number. Brand new juvenile case number. Not even the original one that they got custody of Caitlin based upon fraud, void of Initio, perjury by juvenile CPS workers Nicole Stillion. She falsified documents, complaints under oath. In the cop cam video, you'll see where she's obstructing justice, and I didn't attempt to throw something at that cop or her, but all the defamation and perjury. There's her sworn complaint. Fruit of the poisonous tree doctrine, void of Initio, fraud from the beginning. Nothing else behind that matters. They didn't waste any time getting me some child support. I still owe thousands of dollars on fraudulent child support orders. 4 cases. It says under the 1997 Adoption and Safe Families Act, CPS agencies are granted $4,000 to $6,000 for every child that is removed from their home and placed with a stranger. Now, being in jail, and Judge David Bennett denied me due process, and the Guernsey County Sheriff's Department denied me due process because I was there on false charges, criminal charges to cover up the cop attack and the diversion. The whole case is void amnesia from the very, very beginning. Nothing else sticks. So the current charges of obstruction of justice and interference of custody are even more fraud and more terrorism, more tyranny, treason, blah, 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 blah. See? I wasn't even told about the juvenile case. I wasn't even given an attorney. I had no idea. They took my kid without me being present. I would have had my homeschool records that I had in my hand the night before. So anyway, I got out, and 4 days later, I'm at the CPS building, and Caitlin said, "Hey, Mom, there's a heater, like you got charged for endangering." That was in the CPS lounge for all the kids, so I called, said, "Hey, you charged me for endangering my kids, brand new safety shutoff heaters." Wrong thing to do, because they sent the cop that had assaulted me, Robert Oakley, and he refused to take pictures and charge CPS, but they charged me, but he assaulted me. And in the video, Nicole Caldwell-Stillion, she's the one that perjured and helped kidnap my kids with malicious intent and cover up the cop assault. 4 days later, she's like, "Hey, she's on probation from the other night. I was there when she got arrested." So I went back to jail. And no, I've been arrested 4 times, putting a nut word, and they're trying to arrest me again and force me in a competency evaluation with Dr. Dale Reasoner, because the judge will not look at anything that I put on the record, discovery, laws, my ADA, federally protected rights being violated. She's denying me and Caitlin due process. And there again, every agent throughout this whole entire case, they knew. I told everybody. And my evidence is all over social media, and I've sent it to every court. But they all ignored it, and they all suppressed it. We're in a total police state. We have no rights. Caitlin and I, for 7 years. She got this after her 18th birthday. Being an organ donor, years of abuse and neglect. And what bugged me, it says, having reached maximum benefits. See that X at the top? What's that mean? This poor child has about $1,300 in fines. They called her a delinquent child. Misunderstood anger because she and I never got justice, and she saw the cop attack me. She knew the CPS worker lied, and she's been mistreated all this time, and her rights have not been protected at all by the county. Now, after I got arrested, sorry, I'm all over the place. I just want to get this done. After I was arrested, my probation officer, Chad Williams, requested me to get something mental taken, and I got adjustment disorder, which is a 10 on a scale of 90. In the past 18 months, I was Mom's 24/7 caregiver. Caitlin's older brother passed away in my arms July of 2024. Caitlin went through all those issues down in Dayton, being endangered. And then just recently, my mom passed away. She was medically killed. They didn't give her, even though I gave the hospital Ohio Health grant in Columbus, her documents, and it said Xanax, which is a baseline from her lung doctor, stating for breathing issues. And if you quit taking your baseline med, Xanax, it causes cardiac issues. Well, the doctors took her off for several days. She got cardiac issues. She AFib'd. They gave her midodrine. My studies of midodrine is it's hard to expel from the body, and it causes kidney failure. So they did that to her. We got her stabilized and back on it, or something comparable. And then she was upgraded to get her hip surgery by a big trauma team, pulmonary, heart, neuro, ortho, trauma team. They just took her upstairs to get her 16,000 white count down, and they gave me a list of nursing homes to put her in after she got her hip surgery. Got upstairs, her being upgraded, I thought I'd take a couple of days off because I was pretty much living on the couch at Columbus and back and forth, an hour and a half each way. So I walked into, instead of my mom upgrading, there was about that much blood in her suction cup, and I said, what's that from? I don't know, it's been here for a couple of days. So within 10 hours, I can't remember, within the first 10 hours that I was there, I noticed the blood in the suction cup. Mom ended up being rushed to CCU, and she had internal bleeding, had to have 3 sutures. They had taken Mom's feces tube off of her, and she had feces in her catheter and in her tailbone, which was an infected wound, a bed wound. So her white count went up, and what we didn't know was she also had a big wound on the back of her head the size of the palm of your hand with a dime-sized infected hole in the back of it. We don't know where that came from because at the end of December, that wasn't there. So she was supposed to be upgraded and all this stuff happened. I walked into, instead of Mom getting her hip surgery, oh, your mom's dying. There's nothing you can do. She can't get her hip surgery or anything like that. So I demanded they send her back down to CCU. The nurse gave her hydrocodone and Xanax together, and you're not supposed to do that. So back down to CCU, she got the internal bleeding fixed. We had the head wound. We discovered the back tailbone wound. They put her poop tube back in. She had a severe UTI. The kidney doctor said if she didn't do dialysis within 48 hours, she would die. Because what they did, when they sent her upstairs, they took her off her Xanax baseline again, twice in 2 weeks, causing her to AFib. So within 2 weeks, they caused that frail woman to AFib and go into cardiac arrest because they didn't give her a baseline Xanax to help her breathe, even though it's documented. And then they gave her midodrine, which causes kidneys to fail. And you can't expel it from your body. So anyway, I don't know why they got her Narcan, but Mom ended up dying the end of January, or in the middle of January, January 18th, but I had to order a lot of medical records. There's about 1,400 pages. I tried like 3 different times, but stuff would come up missing out of the email, and I had to start all over again. But I still never got what I really wanted that week that she went from, yep, she's going to get her hip surgery, she'll go to a nursing home, she'll be fine, to she's dying. There's nothing we can do. Well, the reason I picked up on that baseline, back in April, my mom went to the hospital, and she had taken a gummy for the first time ever for her lungs, and we didn't realize at the time, but they took her lung and heart medicine away from her for 3 days, causing her to go downhill. I got her back home, put her back on food, put her back on her meds. That was in April, and she lived a normal, the best she could, until she fell and broke her hip on 12/15. But anyway, how many Betty Lyrics out there that have been denied their baseline meds? My mom should still be living. We got 2 hospitals, Ohio Grant and also Ohio Cambridge. There should be a law where hospitals cannot take baseline meds that their doctor, the patient's doctor, put them on to keep them living all this time. So, I ended up, we buried my mother on February the 17th next to my son Joshua, 34 years old, that died as a result of ineffective attorneys that caused him to get gang raped in prison, and he was put in a mental ward, given Haldol, which didn't do him any good. 270,000 sudden deaths out of 1,000,000. And when I was at the mental ward, they were offering these people chocolate bars to get COVID shots. Anyway, I buried Mom the 17th, and of course you always got family issues and getting ready for the funeral, and I'd been running since the middle of December, just totally solid with Mom's medical reports, her funeral arrangements, trying to protect the family estate, the land, to where it would protect the entire family and the grandkids. But, because there's something, I don't understand what they're trying to hide in Dayton, coming up with the fraudulent juvenile records that don't even show she was in Dayton. They're trying to say Caitlin and I are lying about it. So we need help, Pappy. Pappy Trump, Commander-in-Chief, DOJ. This is, 7 years. But anyway, so on the 23rd, I got a knock at the door. It scared the shit out of me because I'm exhausted, tired. I just buried my mom next to my son that I buried 6 months prior before Caitlin ran away. The past 18 months has not been good for me and my family. So on the 23rd, I assume they probably wanted me because I haven't got the incompetency evaluation that Judge Stephanie Williams ordered. Well, according to my legal abuse syndrome diagnosis and the laws, she's disabling me by forcing me to go to Dr. Reasoner or any of their preferred doctors, because they could disable me and put me in the nut ward like they did last time. Dr. Reasoner says in black and white, Janine suspects Rico and she doesn't trust the government. So with that being said, Judge Williams is denying all my discovery about mine and Caitlin's rights so that CPS, the juvenile courts, and all can protect each other from whatever went on down there in Dayton, the liabilities, and whatever else. Okay? See, if they put me in the nut ward, it'll silence me. I can't help Caitlin. The nut ward is full of people that were silenced and retaliated against. So here we are, we're at round 3. Judge Williams is ignoring and suppressing everything that I filed. She's stricken it from the record. Caitlin and I should have been bedside grieving for my mother in all of this time, and we're still denied to be able to be together. She's 18. She's aged out. We're not allowed to be together or have any contact because Judge Williams said so since back on 8/25 because CPS wanted to no contact. They don't want me and Caitlin speaking because for 7 years they've kept us apart and alienated so the truth doesn't come out. But yeah, this literally is round 3. With the incompetency. So, what I suspect that knock at the door is, they're probably going to try to take me into custody and force me an incompetency evaluation and get me for, I'm on probation, so breaking my bond and contempt of court because I never got the competency evaluation I meant to, but I was going to get my own private one and not go through Dr. Reasoner or District 9 because of the bias. But I'm federally protected. There's nothing wrong with me. Because actually, first of all, permanency records proving CPS states I never abused or neglected my kids. This is ADA federally certified advocate, Judge Padden ignored it. Judge Stephanie Williams ignored it, my federally certified rights. But you know what? They ignored all the crimes against Caitlin and I in the affidavits. Another that they ignored. Now this is interesting. When they put me in the nut ward, I was listed as unspecified diagnosis. See the date? Check this out. 11/1. They still didn't know what I had. They had me as unspecified diagnosis because there wasn't anything wrong with me. I was just silenced. But when I said something about Nancy Schaefer, they called me delusional. Now, when I was put in that ward, juvenile judge David Bennett, that took the kids without due process when I was in jail on a void amnesia case, silenced me in juvenile court due to false pending criminal charges by sheriff and CPS, denied all my evidence, exhibits, videos on the record, denied Caitlin and I ever for grievances. Judge Bennett refused to recuse himself. Judge Bennett's brother also told my mother years ago to do a reverse mortgage, and she declined, thank God. But Judge Bennett took my kids unlawfully in 2019, probated me to the mental ward on a void amnesia case that he did not give me due process, and then turned around and took permanent custody. But when I was put at the mental ward, as incompetent to stand trial, they forced Zoom me to juvenile court to be at the trial as competent. How does that work? And then, while I was at the mental ward, I got a paper from ABH, the state hospital executive director, Brian Warren. He was the one that was offering candy bars for COVID shots. And Judge Dan Padden, they both signed a paper. I got this, a friend of mine, HIPAA, the courts violated my HIPAA and sent this to my friend, but literally Dr. Warren, the executive director, and Judge Padden signed off on Dr. Janine Larrick to give Janine Larrick up to 30 meds. Dr. Janine Larrick to give Janine up to 30 meds. Yeah, I got the exhibit. So anyway, I come out of the mental ward and I filed, of course I lost my appeal. They kept me in there long enough to lose my appeal. And appellate Andrew Russ, attorney, he got 18 pages on my behalf because I was stuck in the mental ward and I couldn't defend myself. But he never put it on the record, so I lost my appeal. The whole case is void amnesia from day one. It's all full of fraud, and all the attorneys, court-appointed attorneys in my case, made damn sure that I didn't get anything on the record. This is my unrebutted affidavit that I put on the record after I got out of the mental ward, and it's still unrebutted. I have a lot of names to add to it, and a lot more stuff. And as soon as I filed that, attorney Matthew Malika turned around and filed another incompetency. Luckily, I passed that. And then this right here is an enjoinder. I enjoined all 88 counties of the state of Ohio. And it was the Clerks Association, Ohio CPS, the Sheriff's Association, the Bar Association, Job and Family Services, so on and so forth. And it was sent to the Attorney General and the High Inspector General, blah, blah, blah. And then I went on a few months later as pro se litigant in a 3-day jury trial against Ohio Attorney General Brad Tomorrow, special prosecutor. They tried to put me in prison for 5 years because the caseworker said I threatened her. But I took it to jury trial, and Jack Blakesley wasn't allowed to help me or speak for me because he was standby. So, yeah, it was quite interesting. This is my acquittal. I got acquitted by a jury of my peers. So, I think that joinder sticks. Every one of these agencies and agents, they're all enjoined. They can't get out of it. Now, I think that might be something else they want to shut me up on. But you know what? If you're watching this case and you're from my county and you have these agents that I'm listing names and stuff for, and you have case numbers and you know what the crimes are, you can list it in the comments. This isn't about the money. This is about the kids. There's 16,000 Ohio kids, and there's a lot of people out there suffering because of the corruption with no accountability. This is for we the people. This is a picture of Caitlin when she, in 2023, when I tried to get her after I won my jury trial, but CPS wouldn't give her back to me. I never abused her, neglected her, but they did not want us together because we've been silent since day one and alienated. But look at that. CPS says every child deserves a loving home. After my acquittal, jury trial acquittal, that little runt attorney, Matthew Malika, after I won my jury trial, walked up to me. I fired him prior to that and became my own attorney. And he walked up to me. He's like, "Oh, you won your jury trial." And I said, "Yeah, because I fired you." He says, "Ha!" He says, "I have another case just like yours." CPS threatens the parents and it spends them, or CPS says the parent threatens them and it spends for a couple years. So, but anyway, yeah, I got a lot of stuff. I got years of documented abuse and neglect of my daughter that has been ignored and suppressed by CPS Nicole Stillion-Caldwell, CPS Amanda Kennedy, Attorney Melissa Wilson, CPS Supervisor Casey Cole, Sheriff Department Jeff Payton, Robert Oakley Patterson, Deputy Lieutenant Harder, Chad Kearns, Detective Bill Patterson. Every one of these people have violated our rights in one way or another. Juvenile Clerk Debbie Bennington, Judge David Bennett, Attorneys Mark Perlacki, Jennifer Zayer, Lindsay Donahue, all three of those were promoted to the prosecutor's office. Attorney Adam Johnson, Attorney Andrew Russ, Magistrate Marsha Hollins, Attorney for the Law Director, Cambridge Municipal, Bill Ferguson and Frederick Sealover, Judge Stephanie Williams, Attorney acting as Judge Derek Moorhead, Probation Chad Williams, Attorney Jack Blakesley, Guardian Ad Litem Ruth Ellen Weaver, CASA Cheryl Gadd. Guernsey County Commissioners ignored everything that I wrote. Ohio Attorney General Yost, Ohio Mike DeWine made laws that the police departments can charge up to $750 for a cop cam on something we the taxpayers already paid. What, to edit so that the cops can edit the crimes out so that it saves lawsuits? We the people don't have a chance. It's a totalitarian police state. State Attorney General Special Prosecutor Brad Tomorrow, ABH Executive Director Brian Warren, Dr. Todd Magis, Cambridge City Schools, Debbie Homeschool Division, Attorney Matthew Malika, Common Pleas Judge Daniel Padden. I think that's it for a minute. Misprision of felony and suppression of evidence. Every one of these agents, plus all the foster parents, have violated mine and Caitlin's rights. Now they want to force me in a competency evaluation and not give me a chance to put my evidence on the record to be heard ever. 7 years Caitlin and I have waited. Now, there's a knock at the door, and they want to take me into custody and say I'm incompetent so that Judge Bennett in the probate can probate my family's land that my mom and dad, right? I was born and raised there. We homestead it, and that's where my mom and son are buried. And my father and brother's ashes are there. It's just not right. I had to, when I got that knock at the door after being arrested and all the hell they put me and Caitlin through and trying to put me in the nut ward, and now I'll take mom's property and still endanger Caitlin because there's a no contact order, really? Because you think you got custody? You never had custody. You never had jurisdiction. You kidnapped my kids. I'm asking, this goes all the way to the tippy top and covers all 88 states. So if you got cases similar, put your case number, comments, and your county and your state and the names of the agents. It's up to we the people to save our children. This should have never have happened. And if it's happening to me, there's many, many others out there that don't have a platform. Thank you. God bless you all. And I ask you to help me get this to Judge Williams of the Cambridge Municipal Court, Attorney Jack Blakesley, the DOJ Department, Commander-in-Chief. I'm sure you'll think some other places. But anyway, thank you very much. God bless you. Ask these guys. I demand they cease and desist. It's an unlawful order, and I don't comply. You're violating our rights and continue treason. I need help. I'm not the only one.